The University of Sydney was founded in 1850. It is Australia's first university and is regarded as one of the world's leading universities. In 2018-19, the QS World University Rankings ranked Sydney as one of the world's top 25 most reputable universities. 5 Nobel and 2 Crafoord laureates have been affiliated with the university. The university has educated 7 prime ministers, 2 governors general, 9 state governors and territory administrators, and 24 justices of the High Court, including 4 chief justices. Sydney has produced 110 Rhodes Scholars and 19 Gates Scholars. This year, in 2019, the Sydney University's Women's Collective recently celebrated there were approximately 19,554 women enrolled as undergraduate students out of a total of 34,012 undergraduate students, which represents 57% women and 43% men. The Women's Collective go on to say, "This year we want to build a greater sense of community within our strong USyd cohort of women, because if we are serious about ending gender inequality in the workforce, we must support one another." From the staff body, Dr. Lin shares her thoughts on promoting women in STEM, science, technology, engineering and maths. Noticing unconscious bias is the key to promoting gender balance in STEM, says Associate Professor Ruby Lin from the Centre for Infectious Diseases and Microbiology in an article entitled "Empowering Women and Girls in STEM." From the student body, it is reported in October 2014, the board of the University of Sydney Union, USU, rejected the application of a new student society, the Brotherhood Recreation and Outreach Society, BROSOC. Queer portfolio holder and USU board director Liam Carrigan argued that allowing the formation of BROSOC could cause significant damage to the queer community, especially amongst trans and genderqueer members. Kate Bullen, women's portfolio holder and board director, took a similar line, stating BROSOC was clearly not about breaking down gender roles and would be potentially exclusionary towards women. Other board members pointed out that the board was wrongly characterizing BROSOC as a men's rights club. Clearly, if the group were correctly characterized as a men's rights club, the spectacle of men fighting for their rights in the same manner as women would be completely unpalatable to the board and a legitimate reason for exclusion. It seems no one pointed out the hypocrisy of the gay community in seeking to ban a group due to a perception of being heterosexual. No one pointed out the hypocrisy of celebrating a girls' club whilst condemning a boys' club. And no one pointed out the underrepresentation of male students at the university whilst promoting a greater representation of women, and all whilst claiming to pursue gender equality. And from the Women's Collective, who claim to build an inclusive group with a stronger sense of community whilst excluding those who disagree with their particular brand of identity politics. It is clear from this meeting there are no enforced guidelines for the basis of social and political groups within the university. Groups are allowed or denied by the privilege of a few without guidelines or conscience or any thought about conflict of interest. The vision you're about to see is recorded from 2 events held at the university. The first event is an open lecture by Bettina Arndt on the false rape crisis at our universities and a critical appraisal of our universities in appointing themselves as adjudicators in sexual assault cases. The question posed by the lecture, does the adjudication of sexual assault cases by the university serve the principles of justice, or will it become a witch hunt based on mob rule? The lecture was successfully blocked by a demonstration organised by the Women's Collective until the riot police intervened. Women have long since enjoyed the right to form groups to discuss and determine women's rights, but the thought of men forming groups to discuss if the principle of justice is being applied is inconceivable to these women. The other vision here are scenes from a protest to prevent the screening of a documentary called The Red Pill, which is a documentary made by a feminist and explores the beliefs of gender equality from the perspective of feminists and contrasts that perspective with the beliefs held in the men's movement. Can you imagine the outcry from these same groups if they were prevented from screening a pro-feminist documentary by a mob of men? I understand, of course, the need for women and the gay community to fight against discrimination, but it is apparent to me these groups need to be held accountable to the same standards they expect from others.
You think that women are responsible for rape? Women are responsible for their own rape? Disgrace! You're a sexist, misogynistic, childish rat! You think that women deserve to be raped? Fucking rape apologist! I hope you scum!
Sydney University is a bastion of sex discrimination against men. From its willingness to adjudicate sexual assault cases, from their staff who are quick to notice the underrepresentation of women in STEM subjects who ignore the underrepresentation of men at the university, from women who belong to women's groups but condemn men's groups, from female office bearers who vote against the very existence of men's groups, from mob rule who embrace the concept of open discussion of issues facing women whilst shutting down any discussion of issues facing men. Presided over by a management system which fails in its responsibility as custodians of a crucible of freedom of speech, and all whilst embracing the false concept the definition of gender equality should be for the exclusive benefit of only one gender. Sydney University is a cesspool of self-interest based on identity politics from its staff and its students, whose output now consists of sexists, hypocrites and bigots, people of double standards of intolerance who think they can impose their views by accusing others of their own shortcomings and by mob rule.